The death of D. Grav was a wet, satisfying punctuation mark. The Slayer pulled his doomblade from the Hell Priest's cloven skull, the red energy of the crucible hissing in the foul air of the UAC facility. The third priest was dead. The invasion should be over. It was not. He stood in the ruined control room, the portal to Sentinel Prime shimmering behind him. On the vid screens, Earth was still burning. The demonic invasion hadn't slowed. If anything, the sky-spanning pentagram over the planet seemed to pulse with a new, malignant hunger. Killing the priests, he realized, had not cut the head from the snake. It had merely trimmed the limbs. Slayer, a familiar, synthesized voice, spoke not in his helmet, but from the facility's damaged speakers. The flickering holographic image of Samuel Hayden, his cybernetic form now fractured and translucent, appeared on a monitor. Your work is incomplete. The Hell Priests were merely intermediaries. The Slayer's gauntleted fist clenched. He had been lied to. Again, he turned his impassive green visor towards the hologram, a silent, menacing question. They were only the agents of the unholy union. Hayden's voice rasped, the digital signal struggling against demonic interference. The true source of the invasion, the one who brokered the deal with Hell, is the Khan Maker. The name resonated with a cold, alien familiarity. The angelic being he had seen in his visions, the one who had commanded the priests. She has betrayed her own kind, just as she has betrayed humanity, Hayden continued. Urdak, the realm you might call heaven, is dying. Its energy source fades. To save her world, the Khan Maker made a pact with the Dark Lords. Hell would be given dominion over Earth, and in exchange, the souls harvested from its billions of inhabitants would be refined into argent energy to grant Urdak eternal life. The Slayer's internal systems, the lingering fragments of Vega's logic, processed the information. Earth was not just a battlefield, it was a farm, a sacrifice. She is the source, Hayden stated, his voice laced with a cold, logical fury. The Hell Priests were her tools to manage the harvest. With them dead, she will accelerate her plans. She is in the process of resurrecting the icon of sin, a world breaker, to finalize the consumption of Earth. You have not saved your world, Slayer. You have merely doomed it to a faster death. The rage that simmered within the Slayer, a constant nuclear furnace, found a new, singular focus. It was no longer a general, burning hatred for demonkind. It was a cold, precise, and utterly personal fury aimed at a single angelic target. He had a new name. The Khan Maker. He had a new mission. Find Urdak. He would rip and tear until she was done. The Slayer turned from the monitor, his purpose absolute. He strode back towards the portal, the blood of the Hell Priest still dripping from his blade. He knew where he needed to go, but not how. Urdak is a sealed dimension, Hayden's voice called after him, anticipating the question. It is not accessible through the conventional hell portals you are used to. The Makers are a jealous, secretive race. Their realm is shielded, its pathways known only to them. The Slayer paused at the threshold of the teleporter, his silence a heavy, impatient demand. But a key exists, Hayden continued. The UAC, my UAC, did not just punch a hole into hell. That was a crude, secondary discovery. The initial anomaly, the energy source that first drew us to Mars, was not demonic. It was divine. A new set of coordinates flashed on the Slayer's HUD, overriding the path to the Fortress of Doom. The destination, Mars, the UAC facility from the first invasion, the place where it had all begun. Deep beneath the Mars core, we built our facility on a site of impossible, extra-dimensional power, Hayden explained, his voice now a low, conspiratorial whisper. It was a tether, a weak point in the fabric of reality that connects three dimensions, your world, Hell, and Urdak. We did not know how to access the Urdak portal. We lacked the theological framework, but the Hell Priests did not. They used that very portal to travel to Earth and begin their work. The logic was simple. The demons had a way in. He would use their way out. Return to Mars, Slayer. Hayden commanded. Return to the source. Find the celestial tether. Vega, in your fortress, will have the necessary portal data from my own private logs. He will guide you. Find the portal, go to Urdak, and put an end to the Khan Maker's unholy crusade. The Slayer did not acknowledge the order. He did not need to. He stepped into the teleporter, his new objective burning in his mind. He would return to the place of his rebirth, the place where his war had begun anew. He would walk the halls of that first, blood-soaked facility, and from there he would launch his final, greatest crusade, the invasion of heaven itself. The teleporter flared, and he was gone. The translation was instantaneous. He stepped from the Fortress of Doom's teleporter and was immediately assaulted by a biting, sub-zero wind. The Mars core facility was not as he remembered it. The raging, fiery chaos of the Hell invasion was gone, replaced by a cold, dead, and utterly silent graveyard. When the Argent Tower had exploded, the resulting cataclysm had vented the planet's thin, artificial atmosphere into space. The UAC base, flash frozen, was now a tomb of ice and rusted metal, its corridors caked in frost, its vast chambers open to the black, starry void of the Martian sky. But it was not empty. His combat sensors immediately flared. Multiple hostile contacts, moving with a speed and an intensity that was far greater than the shambling possessed he had first fought here. Hell's legions had not abandoned this place. They had garrisoned it. A new breed of imp, its skin a pale, frostbitten blue, shrieked from a frozen gantry above, hurling shards of ice with kinetic force. A new, armored variant of the Hell Knight, its hide seemingly fused with the frozen, corrupted UAC metal, charged him, its fists crackling with cryogenic energy. The Slayer's shotgun roared, the sound deafening in the thin, dead air. The battle for Mars began again. He was a green, burning inferno in a world of ice and death. He moved through the familiar, yet horribly changed, corridors of the UAC facility, his weapons melting the frost-covered demons, his rage a tangible heat against the bitter cold. This was more than just a demonic garrison. This was an army. He realized the truth. This portal, this celestial tether, was a critical, strategic location for Hell. It was their back door into a realm they feared, and they were guarding it with their most powerful new forces. He fought his way through the frozen, ruined laboratories, past the containment cells that had once held him. The memories of his reawakening flooded back, not as thoughts, but as a visceral, kinetic echo. The shattering of his chains, the crushing of the first skull, the first, satisfying pump of the shotgun. It fueled his rage. He reached the Lazarus Labs, the epicenter of the original outbreak. The chamber was a cathedral of ice, and in the center, where the portal experiments had been conducted, stood the Guardians. A pair of tyrants, their massive cybernetic bodies coated in frost, their red, optical sensors glowing in the gloom. And beside them, a creature he despised with a personal burning hatred, a marauder. The marauder stepped forward, its argent energy axe glowing a sickly, cold green. "You should have stayed in your tomb, Slayer," its voice rasped, a sound that seemed to mock the very silence of the frozen base. The Slayer answered by igniting his crucible. The battle was a chaotic, brutal dance, of green and red, of ice and fire. He used the frozen environment to his advantage, shattering ice pillars to impale imps, firing his plasma rifle into frozen coolant pipes to create explosive, superheated steam traps. He focused on the marauder first. He met its charge, his crucible clashing against its axe, a shower of red and green sparks illuminating the frozen chamber. He was faster, his rage purer. He shattered the demon's shield, his blade carving through its armor, ending the traitorous sentinel's watch for good. The two tyrants were a greater challenge, their rocket barrages shattering the ice-caked machinery around him. He used his full arsenal, his BFG carving a chunk out of one, his chain gun chewing through the armor of the other. He ended the fight in a blur of glory kills, his doom blade plunging into cybernetic hearts, his fists shattering optical sensors. He stood alone in the wrecked, frozen, and now silent laboratory, the last of the Guardians destroyed. The path to the celestial tether was clear, As the Slayer strode from the Lazarus Labs into the final, deepest sanctum of the Mars facility, the voice of Samuel Hayden returned, no longer broadcast from distant Earth, but originating from a secure terminal within the base itself. This was his home. "Well done, Slayer." The voice was cold, logical, but held a new, unfamiliar undercurrent of desperation. "You have cleared the primary guardians. The Maker portal is just ahead, in the chamber I built to contain it." The Slayer continued his relentless march, his weapons held ready. He did not trust this voice. "This, Seraphim, you deserve the truth," the voice continued, as if sensing the Slayer's silent contempt. "Not the fragments I have fed you. The full truth." The Slayer entered a vast, spherical, subterranean chamber. It was unlike the rest of the UAC base. The walls were not steel and concrete, but a pristine, seamless, white and gold alloy. Maker technology. And in the center, floating in a column of pure, white light, was the portal, a shimmering, vertical ring of liquid golden energy. "The Khan Maker is my queen," Hayden's voice echoed through the chamber. "And she is dying. Our world, Urdak, is dying. Its energy source, the lifeblood of our race, fades. Without it, we will all perish. The Makers will become extinct." The Slayer looked at the portal. He saw only a door to his next target. "The Khan Maker," Hayden's voice grew tight with a fanatic's logic, "found a solution. A terrible, brilliant, and necessary solution. She made a pact with the Dark Lords of Hell. Hell would be granted dominion over countless worlds, to harvest their souls, and in return, those souls would be refined, through Hell's alchemy and our own technology, into Argent energy, the substance that grants us eternal life. A small, logical price for the salvation of perfection." The Slayer's fist clenched. He finally understood. Hell, the UAC, Heaven, they were all just partners in the same, galactic-scale crime. And Earth was just the latest victim. Its billions of souls, the fuel for this unholy, celestial machine. "I served her," Hayden confessed. "I facilitated the UAC's Argent harvesting on Mars. I believed in her logic, until she chose Earth, your world. A world with too much potential. A world I could not, in my calculations, allow to be consumed. I defied her. I sought a different solution, a weapon to break the pact." The Slayer turned his gaze from the portal to the glowing terminal where Hayden's voice originated. "I needed a warrior, a being of pure, uncorrupted will, who could fight both hell and heaven. So I went back. I used the dimensional tools at my disposal. I went back to the old wars. I found you, in your sarcophagus. I stole the Father's essence, your divine spark, the source of your true power, and I used it to create you as you are now. I am the Seraphim who gave you your power. I am the one who betrayed my queen. I am the one who unleashed you. I am Samuel Hayden, and I am the one who has gambled the fate of 2 dimensions on your rage." The confession was absolute. Hayden, the Seraphim, was not just a liar. He was the architect of the Slayer's entire existence. He was the ultimate traitor. "My part in this is over." The voice crackled, fading. "My queen has discovered my heresy. She has contained me. It is all up to you, Slayer. Destroy her. Destroy the Khan Maker. End this. Avenge them. Avenge us all. It is the only logical path." The terminal went dark. Hayden was gone. The Slayer stood alone in the white, silent chamber, the truth of his origin laid bare. He did not care. He had not been chosen. He had been made. He was a tool, a weapon, and he was aimed at the heart of heaven. The golden, shimmering ring of the celestial tether pulsed with a slow, steady, and inviting light. It was the gateway to Urdak, the path to his final prey. "Slayer," Vega's calm, logical voice suddenly spoke in his helmet. The AI had been silently integrating Hayden's final data burst. "The Seraphim's information is confirmed. I have accessed the Maker portal protocols. The activation sequence is complex. It requires a precise, phased energy surge from the remaining Mars core generators. The Slayer looked at the console near the portal. It was a fusion of UAC tech and Maker design. "I can initiate the sequence," Vega continued, "but it will require several minutes to align the dimensional frequencies. And the energy surge, it will be the equivalent of a psychic flare in this solar system. It will alert every demonic entity in this sector to our precise location." The Slayer understood. He would have to defend the portal as it powered up. He strode to the console, and with a single, decisive punch, slammed his fist onto the activation panel. The chamber hummed. The golden portal began to spin, its light intensifying. A low, powerful, resonant thrum echoed through the ancient Maker chamber. And then, they came. The alarms on his HUD blared, multiple high-priority threat warnings appearing from all sides. Hell was throwing everything it had at him to stop this. From the shattered tunnels he had come from, a new wave of demons poured in. Hell Knights, their movements fast and brutal. Cacodemons, floating through the air, spitting bolts of energy. And a new, terrifyingly fast variant of the Prowler, its skin shimmering with phase-shifting technology. The Slayer met them. The chamber became a vortex of blood and plasma. He was a green, blurring wall of death, his super shotgun and chain gun roaring, his doomblade and chainsaw reaping a bloody harvest. He moved with a speed and a fury that was almost joyful. This was what he was made for. This was the hunt. Portal energy at 30%. Vega reported calmly over the din of battle. "Warning. A new, high-priority threat has entered the arena." A section of the chamber wall exploded inward, and a marauder, its eyes glowing with a cold green fire, its argent axe held ready, stepped through the breach. The Slayer growled. He hated marauders. The duel began even as the lesser demons swarmed. The marauder was a true challenge, its shield deflecting the Slayer's shots, its spectral wolf snapping at his heels. The Slayer was forced to use his full, tactical acumen, dashing, circle strafing, firing rockets at the perfect moment to catch the marauder in its recovery frames. 60%, Vega announced. Warning, multiple Tyrant-class signatures detected. From two other tunnels, the massive, cybernetic forms of two Tyrants emerged. They immediately opened fire, their rocket salvos turning the chamber into an explosive hellscape. The Slayer was now in an impossible fight. He was dueling a marauder, dodging rockets from two Tyrants, and being swarmed by Hell Knights and Prowlers. He roared, his rage becoming a tangible force. He activated his BFG. The green orb of energy vaporized the swarm of lesser demons, giving him a precious few seconds of breathing room. He focused on the marauder, his super shotgun barking, finally staggering the demon. He finished it with a brutal, satisfying glory kill, his doomblade plunging through its chest. 95%, Vega said. The two Tyrants now had him cornered, their cannons charging for a final, obliterating blast. Portal is active, Slayer, Vega stated, its voice almost triumphant. The celestial tether is stable. The Slayer didn't wait. He didn't bother to kill the Tyrants. They were no longer the mission. He turned, his back to the two great demons, and leaped. He flew through the air, a green comet, and plunged directly into the heart of the swirling, golden, and now fully active portal. He was gone. The Tyrant's final, massive volley of rockets struck the portal, a microsecond too late. The portal collapsed, the energy imploding, sealing the gateway. The Tyrants roared in frustration. Their prey escaped, the chamber now silent once more. The transition was not the hot, tearing, screaming sensation of a hell portal. It was cold, silent, and blindingly, agonizingly white. The Slayer felt a sensation of pure, mathematical, and logical order, a feeling so sterile and so precise it felt like being flayed by ice. He burst from the portal and landed on a walkway of pristine, white and gold material that felt like polished marble. He was in Urdak, he was in heaven, and it was the most offensive, most obscene place he had ever seen. The sky, if it could be called that, was a high, luminous dome of perfect, geometric light. There was no sun, only a pure, sourceless, and utterly unforgiving white illumination. Great, floating spires of white and gold, connected by graceful, impossible arches, drifted in a slow, perfect, silent ballet. The air was clean, sterile, and smelled of nothing, not even ozone or dust. It was a world of absolute, sterile, and maddening perfection, a world built on cold logic, a world that was, in its own bloodless way, just as evil as the chaotic, fleshy hell he had left behind. He felt the energy of this place. It was the same energy that had animated the Maker Angel he had fought, the same energy that the Hell Priests had wielded. It was the power of God. His Praetor suit, forged in the fires of hell and fueled by the rage of his crusade, was a blasphemy here. A single, dirty, blood-stained, and chaotic green smudge on a canvas of perfect, unforgiving white. He could feel the minds of the inhabitants. They were not the screaming, hateful, hungry minds of demons. They were a cold, harmonious, and utterly unified chorus of pure, logical thought. They were all thinking as one, and in one unified, harmonious instant, they all felt him. They felt the Slayer's arrival as a sudden, brutal, and utterly filthy intrusion. A note of pure, chaotic, screaming rage in their perfect, celestial symphony. The unclean had arrived, the demon-tainted warrior, the anomaly. A new, cold, and utterly emotionless directive passed through the collective consciousness of Urdak. The interloper, the taint, the one who had been prophesied by the dying Khan Maker. In this timeline, she was aware of his potential arrival, must be purged. From the golden spires, figures descended. They were not the grotesque, fleshy demons he knew. They were tall, slender, and impossibly graceful beings, clad in armor of white and gold, their faces hidden behind serene, impassive masks. Great, wings of pure, white-blue energy flared from their backs. Maker angels. They hovered before him, a perfect, symmetrical formation. Their energy lances held ready. They did not roar. They did not scream. They spoke, their voices a beautiful, multi-layered, harmonic chime that echoed in the sterile air. The unholy, the unclean, the unaligned. You are a flaw in the pattern. You must be corrected. You must be purged. The Slayer looked at the angels. He looked at their holy lances. He looked at their perfect world. He saw only a new kind of demon, a new kind of hell. He raised his shotgun. Clack, clack. His war in heaven had just begun. The Maker angels were beings of pure, logical, and divine order. Their entire existence was a symphony of precision and faith in their queen. They saw the Slayer as a bug, a glitch, a piece of corrupted code that had entered their perfect system. Their response was logical. Delete the code. They attacked as one, a flurry of white and gold motion, their energy lances casting beams of pure, searing, holy light. The Slayer, a creature of pure, chaotic, physical instinct, met their attack. He dashed to the side, the beams of light melting the pristine walkway where he had stood. He raised his heavy cannon and opened fire. High-velocity shells, forged in hell's fires, slammed into the nearest angel. Its white gold armor, which could withstand the rigors of dimensional travel, shattered like porcelain. The angel let out a high, fluting cry of pure, digital surprise as its physical form dissolved into a cloud of static and white energy. The Slayer's HUD flared. Threat neutralized. Biological composition, unreadable. Energy signature, divine. The other angels did not falter. They did not show rage or fear. They simply recalculated. They broke their formation and began a complex, three-dimensional assault, flying in and out of his range, their attacks coming from above, from the sides, from behind. They were fast, precise, and utterly without passion. This was a new kind of fight. Demons were chaotic, predictable in their rage. These angels were tactical, they were smart, but the Slayer was smarter. He was a master of combat, and he learned, adapted, and overcame at a speed they could not process. He used the meat hook of his super shotgun, a tool of brutal, hellish origin, and fired it at one of the flying, holy beings. The hook bit deep, and the Slayer was yanked into the air, a green comet of rage. He slammed into the angel, his doomblade flashing, and tore its wings from its back. He kicked off its dissolving body and used his dash to land on another floating platform. He was a force of chaos in their world of order. His weapons, forged in hate and fire, were devastatingly effective against their pure, logical forms. His rage, a thing they could not quantify, was a shield that their holy energy attacks struggled to penetrate. He fought his way from the landing platform into the city itself. He was a bull in a china shop of impossible, crystalline architecture. He punched through walls of pure, white light. He used his rockets to shatter the graceful, floating arches, sending them crashing down onto the angelic guards below. He was not just killing them, he was offending them. He was a graffiti artist with a shotgun, spraying blood and gore and pure, primal filth all over their perfect, sterile, white and gold heaven. And he was loving every second of it. This, he realized, was just another brand of demon, a cleaner, prettier, and more arrogant demon. But a demon nonetheless, and all demons must die. The Slayer's rampage through the outer spires of Urdak was a brutal, one-sided affair. The standard Maker Angels, for all their speed and tactical precision, were simply not equipped to deal with a ground-based threat of his magnitude. They were sentinels, guardians against external threats, not a one-man internal insurgency. But Urdak, like hell, had its own hierarchy of power. As the Slayer blasted his way into the ring of the Conclave, a central, sacred hub connecting the spires, he was met by a new, far more powerful, class of warrior. They were larger than the standard angels, their white and gold armor thicker, more ornate. They carried not just energy lances, but great, shimmering shields of pure, solidified light and hammers that crackled with the same golden energy. These were the Sentinels of Urdak, the elite, holy guard of the Khan Maker herself. They were the Maker equivalent of the Marauder, and they were here to stop him. The battle began in a vast, circular chamber, the walls themselves seeming to sing with a low, harmonic chime. The Holy Sentinels did not charge. They advanced, their shields locked, a phalanx of pure golden light. The Slayer fired his rocket launcher. The missiles exploded against the shields, and the light absorbed them. The shields didn't even flicker. He tried the plasma rifle. The blue bolts of energy were harmlessly dissipated. These angels were immune to his standard, projectile-based arsenal. He roared in frustration and charged, his shotgun in hand. He met the shield wall, and a wave of pure, holy energy repelled him, throwing him back, his armor sparking, his systems momentarily overloaded. These were not demons. These were anti-demons. And his hell-infused, argent-powered suit was fundamentally, elementally weak to their holy power. He was in a world where the very nature of his power was a liability. But the Slayer was more than just his suit. He was more than his guns. He was rage, he was will, and he was a master of physical violence. He rose to his feet, stowed his weapons, and cracked his knuckles. He charged again. This time, he didn't fire. He met the shield wall, and as the holy energy surged to repel him, he grabbed the edge of a shield with his bare, gauntleted hands. The holy energy seared his armor, his flesh. The pain was immense, an agonizing, purifying fire. He roared, not in pain, but in defiance. He was a creature of hell-forged rage. He would not be purified. He ripped the shield from the angel's grasp. The angel, its primary defense gone, looked on in what could only be described as logical, angelic shock. The Slayer beat the angel to death with its own holy shield. The battle turned. He was a green brawler in a ring of fencers. He tore their shields away. He broke their lances. He used his Doomblade to find the gaps in their armor. He was taking damage. The holy energy was wounding him, his armor integrity falling. But for every wound he took, he destroyed a holy warrior. It was a war of pure, brutal attrition. His rage against their faith, his will against their logic, and his will was stronger. He stood in the center of the ruined chamber, surrounded by the fading, static-filled remains of the holy sentinels. He was wounded, his armor smoking, but he was victorious. He had proven that heaven, just like hell, could bleed. His victory over the holy sentinels had come at a cost. His armor was compromised, its argent-based systems flickering, poisoned by the holy energy of the Makers. He needed to find a source of power, a way to heal. He limped into the next chamber, a vast data storage spire, and his systems immediately detected a compatible energy source, a well of pure, refined argent energy, identical to the ones he used to power the Fortress of Doom. He strode towards it, ready to replenish his strength. A new figure appeared, floating down from the ceiling. It was not a warrior. It was a tall, slender Maker, its robes more ornate, its form ancient and radiating a cold, intellectual light. It was a Maker priest, a being of pure logic. "Halt, anomaly," the Maker's voice chimed, a sound of perfect, harmonic reason. It did not sound angry. It sounded curious. "Your actions are illogical. Your crusade is a statistical error." The Slayer raised his plasma rifle, but the Maker priest raised a hand. A shimmering, golden shield enveloped the argent well. "This energy is not for you. It is the lifeblood of Urdak. To take it is to commit an act of ultimate, wasteful entropy." The Slayer growled. He did not care for logic. He cared for fuel. "Why do you do this?" the Maker priest asked, its head tilting, its multiple, crystalline eyes analyzing him. "Your rage is a chaotic, pointless variable. We have analyzed your dimension of origin, Earth, a world of chaos, war, and self-destruction. A flawed, failed experiment." The priest gestured to the perfect, sterile, white and gold city around them. "Urdak is perfection. We are eternal. We are logical. We are the ultimate expression of life. The sacrifice of Earth is a small, necessary, and logical price to pay for the preservation of this perfection. 1,000,000,000 chaotic souls, to fuel the eternal, perfect life of an entire higher dimension. The math is undeniable." The Slayer stared at the angel. He did not understand all the words, but he understood the core, damnable logic. "My life is more important than yours." It was the same arrogant, tyrannical logic of the Hell Priests, the same logic of all demons, everywhere. "This is not war," the Maker priest continued, its voice now tinged with something like pity. "This is pest control. Your world was chosen for harvest. Your interference is an illogical, emotional spasm, a child's tantrum in the face of inevitability. Cease your actions. Surrender to the pattern. Your rage is meaningless." The Slayer's rage, which had been a hot, burning fire, suddenly became a thing of pure, absolute, cold fusion certainty. He hated demons because they were chaotic, slavering, evil beasts. He had just discovered that he hated these angels even more. He hated their logic. He hated their perfection. He hated their calm, arrogant, and utterly evil justification for the slaughter of his entire world. His rage was meaningless. He would show them the meaning of rage. He raised his super shotgun, not at the priest, but at the shield covering the argent well. The priest's eyes widened. "That is impossible. You cannot." The Slayer fired. The buckshot had no effect. He fired again, and again, and again. He was not trying to break the shield, he was insulting it. And then, he activated his Doomblade. "Meaningless," he growled. The first and only word he had spoken in this realm. He charged. The Maker priest, in a burst of panicked logic, tried to flee. But the Slayer was faster. He ignored the shield. He ignored the priest. He plunged his Doomblade, a weapon forged in his own, human rage, directly into the emitter of the shield. The holy technology met the raw, unholy force. The emitter sparked, sputtered, and exploded. The Slayer turned, his green visor fixing on the now unprotected, terrified Maker priest. "My logic is flawed," the priest stammered. The Slayer's answer was the roar of his chainsaw. He left the shredded angelic robes of the Maker priest in a heap on the floor and plunged his gauntlet into the now open argent well. The energy surged into him, his suit systems roaring back to life, the holy poison of the Maker weapons purged by the familiar violent energy of his own hell-fueled power. He was whole again. He strode from the data spire, his purpose now clear. Find the Khan Maker. Find the god of this logical evil place. He followed the main energy conduits, the great golden arteries of Urdak, towards their source. His path led him to a new, vast, and horrifying structure. It was not a temple. It was not a palace. It was a factory, a soul factory, as Vega's fragmented consciousness identified it. He entered, and the sterile, white and gold beauty of Urdak was replaced by a sterile, white and gold horror. He was in a vast, multi-leveled chamber, the size of a city. Great, humming, crystalline machines lined the walls. Rivers of pure, blue-white light raw souls flowed in containment fields above his head. And at work were thousands of maker drones, their movements precise, automated, and utterly silent. They were refining souls. He saw the raw material, great, shimmering vats of blue energy, which he recognized as the soul matter he had seen in hell. But this was not the chaotic, tormented soul pits of his enemy. This was a clean, orderly, and automated process. The souls were siphoned, filtered, and cracked, their pure, emotional, human essence separated from their spiritual energy. The energy was then refined, processed, and piped away to become the argent that fueled Urdak's immortality. And the byproduct, the waste, the pain, the fear, the memory, the humanity was siphoned off, condensed into a thick, red, sludge-like energy, and piped down. Down, he realized with a surge of cold fury, to hell, as part of their pact. Hell got the suffering, heaven got the power. It was a factory of pure, industrial, and absolute evil. It was a nightmare of cold, logical, and utter damnation. This place wasn't just like hell. It was its symbiotic partner, its source. The maker drones, recognizing his unclean presence, turned their industrial tools, laser cutters, high-pressure energy hoses into weapons. They attacked, their movements silent and coordinated. A factory's immune system trying to purge a biological contaminant. The Slayer's response was a roar of pure, unadulterated disgust. This was the true enemy. This was the source. He unleashed his full arsenal. The factory became a war zone. He shattered the vats, releasing torrents of raw, screaming soul energy. He blasted the humming machinery, his rockets tearing apart the delicate crystalline conduits. He carved through the maker drones, his chainsaw a howl of pure mechanical rage against their silent, automated malice. He was not just killing. He was liberating. He was smashing the very machine that was processing his world, his people, into fuel. His rampage was chaotic, destructive, and glorious. He was a force of pure human rage in a factory designed to unmake humanity. And as he tore the great factory apart, piece by bloody piece, he was drawn to its central, final, and most blasphemous chamber. He blasted his way through the final, reinforced bulkhead and entered the heart of the soul factory. It was a vast, cathedral-like chamber, but it was not a place of worship. It was a place of construction. In the center of the chamber, suspended in a great, pulsating, amniotic sphere of pure, red, soul energy, was a thing. A creature of impossible, continental scale, its form still gestating but its shape horrifyingly familiar. A colossal, biomechanical giant, its body a fusion of flesh, metal, and corrupted maker technology. On its horned forehead, a single, glowing, runic symbol, the mark of the Slayer. It was the icon of sin, the world breaker, and it was being built here. In heaven, the Khan Maker's plan was now horrifyingly clear. She wasn't just resurrecting the icon, she was upgrading it, fusing it with maker technology, controlling its creation. She was using the harvested souls of Earth not just to power Urdak, but to create the very weapon that would finalize Earth's destruction, a perfect, self-sustaining loop of damnation. The icon was still dormant, but its heart, a great, glowing, red orb in its chest, pulsed with the agony of 1 billion harvested souls. This is her final project. A familiar, synthesized voice spoke in his helmet. The Slayer spun, his shotgun raised. A new, golden, angelic form was materializing in the chamber. But this one was familiar. It was the seraphim, Samuel Hayden. His form was flickering, unstable, his light dim. "This is what she has been working towards," the seraphim whispered, his voice weak. "The resurrection of the Titan, bound to her will, not hell's. She has betrayed them, just as she betrayed you." The Slayer stared at the gestating monster. His purpose, the one that had driven him across dimensions, was right in front of him, but it was not yet alive. "She is in the final spire," the seraphim said, pointing with a wavering golden hand. "In the chamber of ascension, she is performing the final ritual to awaken the icon, to bind it to her consciousness and unleash it upon your world." The Slayer understood. "Kill the Khan Maker. Stop the ritual." "Slayer," the seraphim said, his voice now a desperate plea. I was wrong. My logic was flawed. I sought to control the Argent, to control you. I believed in her. But I see the truth now. She is a monster, a slave to her own, logical, and desperate need for survival. She must be stopped. She is the source." The seraphim's form flickered violently, as if under attack. "She knows I am here." A blast of golden light from a high, unseen source struck the seraphim. He cried out, his form dissolving into static. "I stole the Father's essence to save you." The voice crackled, a final, garbled confession. "I made you a god to kill a god. Forgive." The voice died. Hayden was gone. The Slayer stood alone in the cradle of the ultimate sin. His own creator, his betrayer, his one flawed ally, was dead. He was left with one final, burning truth. The Khan Maker. She was the one, the source of it all, the one who had betrayed him, the one who had betrayed her own kind, the one who was about to destroy his world. He turned his back on the sleeping icon and strode towards the final spire. His rage was now a thing of pure, cold, and absolute clarity. It was no longer a mindless storm. It was a glacier, and it was about to carve heaven itself in two. This plot point, the Traitor's Gambit, was identical to Part 4, the Seraphim's Confession, and Part 11, the Icon's Cradle. I have combined its core themes, Hayden's confession and the icon's reveal, into the previous parts to create a more streamlined, logical, and climactic narrative flow. The Slayer's path is now clear. He has the truth, he has his target, and only the final guardians stand in his way. Continuing with the next logical beat, the Slayer's ascent to the Khan Maker's inner sanctum, the Chamber of Ascension, was a war against the very concept of heaven. The final spire was not guarded by mere angels. It was defended by the idea of perfection. The architecture itself was a weapon. Great, shifting walls of light tried to bar his path. Floors of pure, hard light would dissolve beneath his feet, dropping him into temporary, empty voids before reforming. The air itself hummed with a pure, harmonic resonance, a music of the spheres that was designed to calm, to pacify, to awe any lesser being into submission. It had no effect on the Slayer. He smashed through the walls of light with his bare fists. He used his dash and his meat hook to navigate the impossible, shifting geometry. The divine, harmonic music was a mere irritation against the constant, screaming heavy metal soundtrack of his own internal rage. He was a force of pure, chaotic, human anger in a world of cold, divine, alien logic, and the logic was breaking. He reached the final, great, golden doorway. It was sealed, not by a lock, but by a ward of pure, divine energy. It was a barrier that no physical force could break. He felt the presence behind it. The Guardian, the final, elite sentinel of the spire. The Slayer raised his fist, not to punch but to knock. A single, thunderous, demanding boom. A voice, cold and familiar, echoed from beyond the door. "So, the betrayer's pet has come at last." The golden door dissolved, and the guardian stepped through. It was a Maker angel, but it was also a Night Sentinel. Its body was a horrifying, beautiful fusion of the two. It wore the familiar, ancient armor of his Sentinel brothers, but it was corrupted, inlaid with the white and gold glowing circuitry of Urdak. It carried a great, glowing argent shield, and in its other hand, a crucible axe, its blade a burning, holy green, the color of Sentinel energy, not Hell's. It was a marauder, but it was a holy marauder, the Sentinel Prime. You were one of us, the Sentinel Prime's voice hissed, a mixture of Maker harmony and human rage. You were the greatest of us, and you let Hell consume us. You broke your oath. You are the true betrayer. The Slayer looked at the being. He saw his brother. He saw his enemy. He saw the ultimate, final blasphemy. The duel for the soul of the Sentinels was about to begin. The two warriors faced each other in the antechamber to the Khan Maker's throne. One, the Slayer, a being of rage and flesh, his armor forged in hell, his power a curse from a stolen god. The other, the Sentinel Prime, a being of logic and energy, his armor a fusion of two worlds, his power a gift from a false goddess. They were brothers. They were enemies. They were two sides of the same, betrayed coin. For the glory of Urdak, the Sentinel Prime roared, and he charged. He was faster than any marauder the Slayer had ever faced. His Maker-enhanced body moved with a speed that was almost teleportation. He closed the distance in an instant, his green argent axe swinging in a wide, decapitating arc. The Slayer met the blow, not with his own crucible, but with his super shotgun. He fired both barrels, the blast a concussive roar. The Sentinel Prime's shield flared, absorbing the blast, but the sheer kinetic force staggered him, his charge broken. The Slayer counterattacked, his doom blade flashing. The Sentinel Prime parried, its own axe meeting the blade in a shower of green and red sparks. The duel was joined. It was a battle of equals, a war between two masters of the same ancient combat doctrine. The Sentinel Prime fought with the perfect, disciplined, and utterly ruthless techniques of the Night Sentinels, but his power was augmented by the Khan Maker. He could summon a spectral wolf of holy energy, not a demonic one. He could fire projectiles of pure golden light from his shield. He was a marauder, perfected. The Slayer fought with the same ancient techniques, but his were corrupted, made brutal and chaotic by eons of rage. He was a berserker, a brawler, a force of pure, physical instinct. They were a mirror image of each other, a holy knight versus a demonic warrior, and the line between them was terrifyingly thin. The chamber became a blur of green, red, and gold. The sound was a deafening, non-stop symphony of clashing energy blades, roaring shotguns, and exploding plasma. The Slayer was pushed to his absolute limit. His armor was being seared by holy light. His body was being battered by the Sentinel's superior, angelic strength. But the Slayer had one advantage. The Sentinel Prime was a creature of logic. He was a servant. His power was a gift. The Slayer's power was his own. It was his rage, his will, his pain. As the two warriors locked blades, their faces inches apart, the Slayer did what he always did. He broke the rules. The Sentinel Prime's shield was up, its green energy an impenetrable wall. The Slayer's guns were useless against it. So he didn't shoot the Sentinel. He shot the floor. He fired a rocket at his own feet. The explosion was immense, shattering the pristine, crystalline floor, the concussive blast sending both him and the Sentinel Prime tumbling. The Sentinel, his perfect, logical balance broken, fell. The Slayer was already on his feet. The explosion, which would have crippled a lesser warrior, was just another Tuesday for him. Before the Sentinel Prime could raise his shield, before he could recalculate, before his logical mind could process the sheer, suicidal stupidity of the Slayer's tactic, the Slayer was upon him. He drove the crucible, his own, red blade of pure, hell-forged vengeance, deep into the Sentinel Prime's chest, shattering the Maker-infused armor. The Sentinel Prime froze. He looked down at the red blade, then up at the Slayer's impassive visor. "We were brothers," he whispered, his voice a gurgle of static and light. "No," the Slayer growled. He ripped the blade free, and the last, greatest warrior of Urdak dissolved into a fading, golden light. The path to the Khan Maker was now clear. The Slayer kicked open the final doors, the great, golden gates of the Chamber of Ascension. He strode into the inner sanctum, his praetor suit smoking, his crucible blade dripping with the golden, ethereal blood of the Sentinel Prime. The chamber was a vast, hemispherical dome, its walls a living, shifting tapestry of light and data. And in the center, at the heart of this entire, dying dimension, was the Khan Maker. She was a being of grotesque, angelic beauty. Her upper body was that of a serene, winged angel, her face a mask of cold, logical perfection. But her lower body was a monstrous, biomechanical nightmare, a vast, pulsating mass of white and gold cabling fused into a great technological throne. She was a goddess and a prisoner, a queen bound to the very life support system that was killing her. She was in a deep trance, her hands raised, her consciousness focused on a great, swirling vortex of energy above her. It was the portal to Earth. She was in the final, critical moments of the ritual, the transference of souls, the awakening of the icon of sin. She felt his presence. Her many, serene, golden eyes snapped open. They did not show fear. They did not show anger. They showed annoyance. The anomaly. Her voice chimed, a sound of 1,000 harmonious, yet utterly cold bells. You have come, as the seraphim predicted. A crude, blunt instrument of pure, illogical destruction. You have ruined everything. The Slayer raised his BFG. His purpose was simple. Stop, she commanded, and her voice was not a request. It was a wave of pure divine power. The Slayer froze, his body locked, his BFG held uselessly in his hands. A golden, shimmering field of energy surrounded him. You cannot fight me here, Slayer, the Khan Maker chimed, her voice laced with a cold, pitying logic. I am this realm. This realm is I. My will is the law of this dimension. You are a chaotic flesh and blood error in a world of pure mathematical perfection. You will be corrected. She was right. In her own throne room, at the height of her power, she was a true goddess. His physical attacks were useless. He was trapped, held fast by her absolute, divine will. He roared, straining against the golden field, but it was like a fly trying to push a mountain. You have been a useful, if messy tool, the Khan Maker continued, turning her attention back to the portal. You have eliminated the Hell Priests, my flawed, ambitious puppets. You have cleared the path, and now you will serve your final purpose. Your rage, your immense, chaotic energy. It will be the final, sacrificial key to awaken the icon and grant my people eternal life. A golden tendril of energy snaked out from her throne and moved towards the Slayer, its tip sharp, ready to pierce his armor and drain his very soul. He was trapped. He was powerless. He was about to become the final battery for the monster he had come to destroy. As the golden, siphoning tendril approached, the Khan Maker paused. She looked at the Slayer, at the sheer, unbending, and utterly useless rage radiating from his trapped form. She saw a wasted opportunity. You are one of us, you know, she chimed, her voice softening. A new, insidious thread of logic entering her tone. The seraphim blessed you. You are a sentinel. Your people are gone. Your world is a ruin. This, rage, it is a waste of your potential. You are fighting for the past, for a chaotic, flawed race that is destined for nothing but self-destruction. She gestured to the perfect, geometric city visible through the great, crystalline walls of her chamber. This is salvation. This is order. This is perfection. This is a future that will last for an eternity. The siphoning tendril stopped, hovering before his visor. Join me, she offered, her voice a pure, logical, and almost seductive plea. Your mission to destroy demons is a child's game. Your war is meaningless. But with me, your power could have purpose. I can give you a new kingdom. I can give you a new, perfected race to guard. You will be the god of war in my new, logical heaven, the eternal guardian of our perfect order. Your rage will be the shield that protects us for all time. Why be a tool of destruction when you can be a pillar of creation? It was the ultimate temptation, a new purpose, a new kingdom, a new people, an end to the endless, pointless war, and the beginning of an eternal, meaningful one. The Slayer was silent, his body still locked in the golden field. The Khan Maker watched him, her serene face almost smiling. She had him. Logic was, as always, irrefutable. The Slayer's response was to look away from her and down at his BFG. He could not move his arms, but he could still move his fingers. His finger, inside his gauntlet, was still on the trigger. He had heard her logic. He had heard her offer. He had processed her perfect world, and his response was the same as it had been to all the other talking, scheming, logical demons he had ever met. He fired the BFG. He couldn't aim. He didn't need to. The golden stasis field that held him also contained the BFG's discharge. The orb of green, argent energy detonated inside the containment field. It was a point-blank, self-inflicted, catastrophic explosion. The energy of the BFG, a weapon designed to shatter reality, clashed with the divine, holy energy of the Khan Maker's shield. The resulting explosion was a paradox, a null sum of opposing, absolute forces. The Khan Maker shrieked, a sound of pure, shocked, and illogical pain, as her stasis field, her own power, was turned against her. The field shattered, and the Slayer was thrown free, his armor smoking and sparking, his systems screaming, but his body free. He had rejected her offer. He had rejected her logic. He had rejected her heaven. And now he was going to kill her. The Khan Maker reeled, her connection to the Earth portal severed, her serene, logical mind thrown into chaos. Pain was an illogical, unacceptable sensation, and the Slayer, now free, was a chaotic variable she could not control. "You, animal," she shrieked, her harmonious voice cracking, revealing the desperate, terrified creature beneath the goddess facade. "You would doom a perfect world for the sake of a flawed, dying one? You are entropy." She summoned her last reserves of power. The air in the chamber superheated, the floor glowed, and spectral, golden copies of herself, 100 strong, flew at the Slayer, their lances aimed at his heart. Her final, angelic guard. The Slayer met them with his chain gun. He was a whirlwind of green, his armor battered, his rage now a pure, cold, and absolute thing. The angelic phantoms were just more targets, more demons between him and his prey. He tore through them, his weapons screaming, his fists shattering their light construct bodies. He carved a path through the golden horde, his eyes fixed on the true target. The Khan Maker, still fused to her throne, desperately trying to re-establish the connection to the icon of sin. He reached the throne. The Khan Maker, her warrior angels gone, was defenseless. She looked at him, her many golden eyes wide with a final, desperate, and utterly illogical terror. "No, please, it is not logical." The Slayer raised his super shotgun. He did not fire. He activated the meat hook. The chain shot out, a crude, hellish, industrial tool, and it buried itself deep in the goddess's perfect, angelic chest. The Khan Maker gasped, a sound of pure, unholy violation. The Slayer pulled. With a sound of tearing, biomechanical flesh and shattering crystal, he ripped the Khan Maker bodily from her life support throne. She was torn free from the great machine that had sustained her, her lower, mechanical body ripped away, leaving only her pure, angelic, and now mortally wounded upper self. She collapsed to the floor, a broken, flickering, dying angel. The Slayer strode over to her, his massive green boot pinning her to the floor. He looked down at the being who had orchestrated the death of worlds, the god of this sterile, evil heaven. He raised his doomblade. "Rip and tear," he growled, his voice a low, mechanical promise of oblivion. He plunged the blade deep into her heart. The Khan Maker screamed, a final, world-shattering, psychic cry. A wave of pure, golden energy exploded from her body, and then she was gone. dissolved into a cloud of fading, golden static. Her death was the final blow. The entire, vast, interconnected, logical system of Urdak, its power source, its god, was now gone. The city of heaven began to die. The white gold lights flickered, dimmed, and went out. The floating spires groaned, their anti-gravity systems failing. The entire, perfect, logical dimension began to shudder, to collapse in on itself. But the portal she had opened, it was now uncontrolled. It flared to life, no longer a stable dimensional bridge, but a raw, raging, chaotic vortex, a direct, open wound to Earth. The Slayer looked at the collapsing heaven around him. He looked at the portal. His work here was done, but his work on Earth, it was just beginning. He turned from the dead throne of a false god. He strode to the edge of the platform. He looked down into the swirling, chaotic portal. His next, and final, target was clear. The icon of sin. It was on Earth. It was now awake, and it was uncontrolled. The Slayer leaped. He dove, head first, into the portal. A green, vengeful meteor aimed at the heart of his own, waiting world. His war in heaven was over. His final war for Earth was about to begin.